First one of the season. Just get a ribbon tool and throw it on the wheel.
So, Maddie, before we go off of yours, somebody had a great comment when you posted this, and I thought it was hilarious, which is Don Knotts. Once you see it, you can't.
Yes.
Oh, you're right.
So Don Knotts.
Oh, you're right. This is that fish guy. Oh my gosh, you're right.
Yeah, Mr.
Honestly, that improves it a lot. I mean, it's fabulous already, but like
when you can see.
I was channeling him and I didn't even know it. How's that?
You were Mr. Furley.
Mr. Furley, exactly.
Oh, great carve, Manny. Great carve.
Thank you. That was a fun one.
So, as we've mentioned before, Christina, we'd like to introduce you to the third member of Carvers and Creators responsible for our carving challenge tonight. It is the wheel, aka the center spinner, and I'm going to explain it to you right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to spin the wheel twice. The first time is going to be the inner spin, which is the subject or character we're going to try to carve. The second spin will be the emotion or attribute to which we have to apply to the first spin. So our choices tonight are Fishman, Hillbilly, Skull, Guest Choice, so have one ready, Undead, Hag, Vampire, Alien, Frank, and Voodoo.
What's Frank?
Frankenstein. I'm too lazy to write Stein. Although one time we did actually both do different Franks.
I think I did Frank Sinatra. You did Frank from Sunny.
From It's Always Sunny. I did Danny DeVito, basically. Yes.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, you gotta, you gotta take curves. Yeah. Okay, so second spin will be emaciated, distraught, shocked. Guest choice once again. Crazy, robust, excited, furious, sad, or trauma. So that being an attribute, right? It's like, here we go. Spin number one. Are you ready? Oh, Voodoo. I was going to say, if it landed on Fishman, I'd be like, wow, you got another Don Knotts in you there, Maddie?
I know. Oh, my gosh.
Okay, so.
Voodoo. Okay, wait. Okay, just let me process that for a second.
Oh, you got to process it? Hold on, we're processing.
Okay, now I'm ready. Go ahead.
Good. All right, spin number two. So, I don't know how we're going to put these two together. No, we can't. No, do we go with robust?
Robust Voodoo? I don't know.
Yeah.
Christina, you want to be the third judge?
I feel like why would you not do it? Like you have to go by what the wheel says.
I think you might be right.
You keep rolling until you get something you like. What's the point of the wheel?
Well, no, good point. We did that one last week, and that would be the only reason.
Oh, you're right. Good call. No, that's valid. I see.
She does have a good point, though.
Yeah.
There has been a time where we've been like, actually, not us. The guest has done that. We haven't.
I would say that if you're not going to be willing to do it, you shouldn't leave it on the wheel. But yes.
Nope.
But also,
we
got to do it. It's robust. Okay. It's not like if it was sad, which is an emotion, I'd say no, because that's too kind of similar. You go down the same path with the facial expressions, but robust can be so many things. And I saw something in my head, so I'm not going to take it away. So if I have an idea, if I didn't have an idea, I'd be all for getting rid of it. So Matt, let's commit it to the chat. It is a robust Voodoo.
Ooh,
I don't know, Voodoo character.
Nice
all right. Well, this is not a robust Voodoo. Okay.
He's coming up on 4.5 years old.
What is it? Is it actually a pumpkin?
It's a kaboka squash. It's like a mini, looks like a mini pumpkin. It's a little green. You can find them in your grocery store.
In formaldehyde or something?
Yeah, pickled. It's pickled, so it's like a little bit of vinegar and water. Yeah, lasts forever.
So someday you can eat it and it will be amazing.
Absolutely not. I don't even like looking at it anymore. It just kind of wants to fall apart. There's not much solid left in it, so don't sneeze. So, but yeah,
lots of fans chiming in. This is kind of cool. I like that.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us.
I saw some of my friends' names flash up for a second.
Yeah. This one has a bad word in it. But
hey,
hey,
that's our friend from LA, Matt.
Of course. There we go.
It's Cara. Guys.
Yeah, and I think you got. And early on, we had a couple more. I think there was
Nico, yes.
And then
and Julian, yeah.
And there's others. They're starting to
roll
in.
Those are both super talented ceramic artists, also.
Oh, I love it.
Fantastic. Well, okay. If you're carving along with us, we're going to give you a couple of minutes to get your tools together and your squash or clay, or if you're painting or drawing, everybody does something different, but everybody is welcome to join in on the challenge if you'd like. So what we're going to do right now is going to go around the horn and we're going to see what we're drinking for our carving oil. By carving oil, we do a lot of, we're not as young as we used to be, so we got to loosen up with a beverage to really get the wheels and imagination flowing. So, Maddie, what are you drinking tonight for your carving?
Well, I'm trying to stay close to Tucson, so I got actually a local Tucson beer called Moto Sonora, and the name of this beer is Victory or Death. So, we'll call it. It's an IPA, so I don't know if I'm gonna like it, but because I usually don't. But so I've got a backup just in case, but we'll see. Rolling the dice. How about you, Paul?
So I'm going to go back to the Well, which is one of my favorite breweries from Waltham, Massachusetts, and that's Mighty Squirrel. And this one is called Gorgeous Pumpkin.
Nice.
Look at that.
They make really, really good beer. It's a 6.1. And what do you say, Matt? It's 16 FLOZs.
Yeah. All those numbers and
so much science. Too much science. Just a beer. It's a delicious beer. Christina, what do you got?
I got classic Spindrift.
Spindrift. My kids drink the heck out of that stuff. It's we have a fridge of it in the garage.
Yes, I don't know. It's my favorite. It's like seltzer, but with a little bit of extra.
A little tiny flavor. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Little kick. Is the lime your favorite one?
No, there's a new one that you can only get at Target that's like lime and mint, like mojito kind of.
Oh,
ooh.
Hey now.
Very nice.
They told me I could promote, so I'm going to drink it out of one of my expensive mugs.
That. I love it.
Big fan. Now, if you were pouring rum, I'd be a little worried. That would be a big pain.
That's a lot of rum.
Yeah.
Well, it was nice joining you. Cheers, everybody. Cheers to another episode, and God willing, a good carve. Oh boy.
Yeah. A robust voodoo. That's all I know.
Yeah. You know what though? I think I'm gonna roll with this guy. I'm gonna go instead of a pumpkin. I mean, this kind of counts as a pumpkin. It's a Hubbard. So yeah, we're gonna see where this one goes.
I like it.
It looks kind of robust.
Yeah.
So why don't we start diving into it? Let's start at the beginning, Christina. What got you? Look at that.
Look at that.
It's almost like she went in and pulled it out.
One out.
That's right. Right out of the photo on the other side.
Amazing.
Oh, I love it.
So what led you to become an artist?
Oh, okay. So here I was in college and I was writing a paper. And I had been in college for 2 years and I had written so many papers and I was, oh look.
I just thought, I don't mean to interrupt the story, but that is so appropriate. That is amazing. Sorry.
I was hating writing this paper with all of my soul, and all I wanted to do was go be in one of the art classes I had to do. And for some reason, it did not occur to me before that point. Anybody who's friends with me, it was a Jonathan Rose class. And I was writing this paper, and I just so desperately didn't want to do it. And I was like, what if all of my classes could be art classes? And then it clicked, like there's colleges for that. There's like places you can go where that's what it is. And so I transferred to art school. And
what year were you at this point?
I had done 2 years of college, and so I was late to, no, maybe just 1 year. I can't even remember. But I did 2 years of regular college and then transferred.
Okay.
So you had to start back at the beginning, I'm assuming, obviously, right?
It took me 5 years. So I was able to transfer enough for 1 year's worth. But, in art school, it's that you have so many prereqs that are art-based.
Yeah.
So anyway, I went in for jewelry. I was going to be a jeweler. And I had a teacher that was a ceramicist who was so great. And I really loved him. And it sort of switched me to doing ceramics. But then he went on sabbatical my senior year, so I didn't get to do any of my good classes with him.
Oh,
which was a pretty big bummer. But so started doing clay in art school.
So cool. I mean, obviously, from seeing some of the sculptures we'll see in a bit, I mean, it's so obvious that you're classically trained. Like everything is perfect.
Oh no, see, that's a joke. I went. I should not diss my alma mater, but I went to Tyler School of Art in Philadelphia. And they were very, very not classical. It was very about express yourself, throw paint at a
Oh.
wall. Like it was very not technical. And I found that really frustrating. Like I'm like, I can express myself on my own time. You should teach me how to do things. So I had a lot of frustration with that. I wish I'd gone to a more classical art school, but whatever. This one was cheap and close. So.
Well, I'll tell you what, it doesn't look like you didn't. It really does. Everything's very classical. I know we were talking about earlier, we were talking about wrinkles, right? And I've seen in a couple of your posts when you talk about how much you love putting the creases in denim and things like that.
Yeah.
It's almost like therapeutic.
Yeah, it's my happy place. I can tell you guys feel that way too. Like those last little, like the sweet, the depth of the eye and the like crease in that little point in the corner of a mouth, like really getting that.
Yeah.
That's the best.
Yeah, once you get it right, that's perfect.
Yeah, for me, like that one corner of the mouth when they're smiling and it kind of goes up and down. Anyway, little things like that, and I'm like, ooh, I
know, and you don't get to do those things until the end. Like you can sort of stuff them in, but you have to like go through all the big stuff until you can like do those sweet little details at the end. And it shows in your carving that you do that too. That's the point when you actually start going, I enjoy this. Yeah. Once you get past the main blocking part where you're like, this is taking so long. Right. Yeah. By the way, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I had to abandon the Hubbard squash instantly. Oh. Yeah, why? Okay. Calcified. The outside, the skin on them it's almost like I don't even know what you call it, like a hard plaster under the skin if there's too much calcium. Oh. And I just thought because it was so early in the season that I'd be getting a fresh one. This thing's probably like 8 years old, been sitting in a warehouse and just rolled it out the door. It's probably pickled. They pulled it out of the pickle. It's hollow. Like I could probably play it like an instrument or something. It's just seeds. If I wish I would pickle it.
When it comes to your ceramics, I mean, obviously you've done amazing, like very detailed stuff. And again,
so
I've thrown a couple little things on a wheel, and I'm so enamored by that whole process and like the beautiful feel of a wheel. Of clay on the wheel and just getting the symmetry right, but then you go, is this like in this pieces from before? Is this like a stamped thing, or you carved it in there, or how is that? Yeah, they're carved. I should show you one of my molds. I do them in plaster, or you probably can't see it too well, but like this is like a little pendant thing, kind of like what I'm wearing here. Oh, yeah. And, beautiful. And so I'll take a block of plaster and I like carve it in reverse onto the plaster, and then I can press clay onto that. And then like with things like this, then I let it go leather hard, and then I build with the pieces after I've pressed them on here. So those aren't done on the wheel. Like this one, I like the base is thrown on the wheel, and then these are all pressed slabs, and I kind of build it all. Okay.
You know,
a little of everything.
You know, like you do, Matt. You just
of course. Here we go. Nicole says Christina doesn't need a wheel.
Nico, I love my wheel. I use my wheel all the time. It's right there. It's what I grew up on. I spent 2 decades throwing, but then I got a little tired of it and moved on to hand building, and then now I'm sculpting.
Yeah, the hand building stuff, because I think, and I'll get back to another picture here, but when we saw some of like the wrong button. Let's get back to this one. So I mean, like a handle would be hand built, but then some of the stuff behind you, and in this case, obviously the sculpted lizard or gecko, I guess in this case, gecko lizard. I guess it's the same family. But I mean, so is that what you're talking about with hand? That's the hand built piece.
Yeah. So anything that's not on the wheel or like slip cast, there's a lot of things you can do that are different technical things. But anything you just kind of like construct with your hands, like you can extrude stuff, but then you like do stuff with it, and so that's the hand built.
Right. Okay, makes sense.
Now those are that's a glaze. Am I saying that right? Do you have to glaze those things?
Then those are glazed. Yeah, those have underglaze colors on them, and then a clear glaze on top.
See, I know what I'm talking about. Now, it's not the same color when you start, though, is it? I know.
No, that's a good point too. Underglaze is, but regular glaze is often a very different color.
I feel like I'm getting there. Like I could get a wheel tomorrow and start. and completely
Yes.
make a mess of
I'm sure you'd be amazing. It's,
Oh,
it's
yeah,
just
I
that easy. It's just that
Yes.
easy.
So just 20 years later, Paul, we'll have cool stuff like
See, I mean, I can carve a pumpkin, right? Like that's isn't that one of the prerequisites? No.
that. Right.
I mean, we don't do that in my ceramics class, but maybe we should.
Yeah, grab a
Nah,
pumpkin.
you're way above carving pumpkins. See now, so this is an ornament, am I right?
Yeah. So this
Now
is a local castle, because we've got those where I live, Glencairn Museum, and this is I like this because the right hand door handle to this is shiny because people always use the right hand door.
Uh-huh.
So on my ornaments, I polished the right hand side, not the left hand side, to match
I didn't actually pick
I
up on
love
that.
that.
That's great.
the door.
I love that.
Yeah, and so that's glazed to look like a
That's
pewter
not a
or-
glaze.
Oh.
That's actually a rub and buff, which is
Oh,
a rub-on finish that you can, like a wax that you kind of burnish on to clay.
Wow.
So it's not something you could use on a food vessel because it's not food safe, but it works fine for sculpture and stuff.
Yeah.
and it gives it that metallic look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you should rub and buff one of your pumpkins some one day, and you could have a metallic.
That'd be so sweet. I'd do a Tin Man.
It lasts
Yeah.
for about 30 seconds. And then
I'd
turn
take
around.
2 pictures and it would all just be like sliding off the surface of the pumpkin.
That'd be okay. All you need is the photo.
That's it.
That's kind of all we care about, honestly.
See, I love this. This is beautiful.
Yeah. This is just like beautiful because of the glaze. Like you said, you don't know what you're going to get till you get it. So I'm assuming this is just a test and some like playing with it. And then I'm assuming everyone is very unique, right?
Yeah, I mean, really, I'm almost 30 years into playing with glazes, and it's still like, you never know. I mean, you know, but like whatever. It's a never-ending battle. No, challenge, adventure. It's a never-ending adventure.
That's a good way to put it.
Combine glazes and see what you get and fail. There's so much failing. So much failing.
Sounds like us.
Yeah, we're pretty good at that.
Do it again.
Yeah,
Do it again.
Yeah, the technical capability you have, like when it comes to something this, I mean, I'm assuming this is not only the handmade pieces and the thrown pieces all put together and assembled, but when it comes to the glazing, it's another level. It's like to get it that perfect. I'm assuming that's just the 20 years plus of doing this. I'm assuming.
Yeah, well, those are pretty old. You're showing a bunch of old stuff, but yeah, it's definitely. I have just. I mean, you throw a lot of it out, but I have just a whole lot of stupid looking pottery.
No, I think that's great. That's kind of the. I mean, maybe it's because I'm from the Northeast. You know, we leaf peep, so stuff like this is near and dear. I think it's amazing. I couldn't even imagine how you would.
Well, these ones worked out, but they're a product of many tries that didn't.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I can imagine. And then your jewelry. I mean, like the pendant you have on is one of these. I'm assuming, right? Just like
it's just like that. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm actually working on launch. Oh yeah, there's one that might actually be the one. That one's on that picture. I'm working on launching a jewelry business in maybe next year. So I've been spending a whole lot of time this year my goal is to have 50 new designs all carved and ready to go, and then start launching them. I'm about 25 in right now.
Wow. So are you a sketcher? Do you get all your ideas down on paper before you?
I used to be. Now I use Procreate.
Procreate's great. I love it.
And because you can see a lot of my designs are very geometric. So it works really well to be able to, work in mirror or like radial symmetry and all of that for some of my designs. So I've been really loving it.
So speaking of jewelry, when it comes to like the amount of pieces you want to do is it to put into like a show? I mean, how do you exposition them? How do you kind of get them all out there?
Right. That's a great question.
Yeah.
We will see. I haven't really, I've spent 25 years selling pottery and stuff. So I have some experience with doing like shows and craft shows and like whatever, stuff like that. Yeah. I've never done anything like Etsy. And I'm not even a little bit interested in that. So really? I've been talking. Yeah, that just sounds like that's a whole other job. Like, like Paul was talking about earlier about just having to produce extra thing, not earlier. Anyway, I don't have the time to do that. So to like photograph every piece like 6 times and post it and then mail each one individually. That's a whole other job. So, and I want to keep sculpting. So I'm thinking I've been in talks with like galleries, like little craft stores, and
Cool.
anyway, I'm hoping I could do a thing where I sell like not wholesale, but like to places to sell for me.
Almost like
wow.
high-end boutiques and stuff like that. Where
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've had some interest. So I mean, I haven't actually got there yet to producing. It's all going to be. I'm open to what will happen and learning and all of that.
the universe will take care of it for you.
Yeah, laying the groundwork right now and see where it leads.
Well,
I love
I
it.
wish you the best of luck, and I have no doubt that it will be successful.
Well, once we see some of the other pieces she does, if you could just own a piece that she's touched, this
Right.
is probably kind of, this is like, the fans touch this, I want it. Yeah, that's probably going to be the. I mean, not that
people are looking at the things you're showing right now, and they're like, "Why is
I
she
know,
on
but wait,
this show?"
I'm sorry. We did a slow roll because we are such huge fans of your sculpture too, and we just want to make sure people kind of saw what you grounded, how you got started, because I think that's always fun.
But the show is called Carvers and Creators. It's
Yeah,
not called Carvers and one thing.
I bet you've never had a ceramic jeweler on before.
Ceramic jeweler?
Look up ceramic jewelry maker.
Yeah, I think
We've had ceramic guests before.
but not a jeweler. I think
We've
she
had
might be
the big Duluth.
Yeah, the cops, and then we had Mike Effects on, who makes
Mikey Effects, Mike Regan. Yeah, we've had a bunch. Hey man, don't pigeonhole us, Christina. We have everybody on.
I love that you have fabulous artists on. I am not criticizing. I'm just saying that this is like doesn't quite fit the vibe of the show so far, but that's fine.
Well, you know what though? I mean, like the Paul had a good point. So what we love and we geek out on is like the creative process and how you got your start, how you get, what keeps you motivated, like your tools. There's a million things that are like really, really cool to us, even though it's not the same medium. Clearly, we're using a really silly medium, in a very, very happy, very seasonal medium. But at the same time, it's like it's just really fascinating to hear like other stuff that like literally sticks around, like that jewelry and some of your pottery and clearly your sculptures will be here for a lot longer than we will. So that's the tough one for us to understand, but really cool to hear that process.
Just think, in 30 or 40 years on Antiques Roadshow, somebody's going to roll in with one of your pieces, and they're going to be like, "Are you kidding me? One of these hasn't been seen in years. This thing's worth $1 gazillion."
That woman's been dead for 3 decades. What are you saying?
She died at the hands of the wheel.
Yeah,
that she was making that piece in.
Oh, I love it.
Now we'll get into a little more of a tie-in as to some of the other things that you do that would translate into the sculpture that we are used to seeing. So
just maybe take us a minute. I mean, because I kind of have an understanding, having really perused all of your stuff for a long time, but seeing, like, give us this idea of scale, because I've seen them in the kiln at each one.
I could show you one of them.
Like a shoebox, I'm thinking, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh boy, sounds heavy.
It's not, well, they're heavy yet. So this is that.
Oh, really?
Oh boy.
The little, I have never put a finish on them. So someday I hope to.
Yeah. Okay.
But so this is the scale of that one.
Oh,
I mean, they're bigger when you make them. They shrink when you fire
Sure.
them, but not that much. Anyway.
So you mold these, right?
I sculpt them.
But these are one of a kind, so there's no.
Yeah, they're one of a kind. They
Okay,
haven't been cast or anything.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I was wondering when you said they, but you're literally talking about these 3.
Yes, that's
okay.
That's
Wow.
the guy in front.
They're
Those
bigger
got
than I
some
thought. They're slightly large. So when you talk about shrinking, because I know these have to be hollowed out, and we're going to talk a lot about that because that's crazy to me. But when you talk about them shrinking down, what percent? At least 10% smaller?
Depends how high you fire them. They shrink about 5% from when you sculpt them to when they're dry, and then a little bit more the first time you fire them. But then if you high fire them, they shrink another 5%. So it can be between 10 and 13 or 14%,
Wow.
depending on how much you fire them. Yes, which is advantageous in things like jewelry where you want to get the detail, but annoying in things like sculpture when you're trying to have like a life-size person and it becomes not life-size.
Well, yeah, you gotta blow them up a little.
Does that factor into things when you're creating a piece to make it a little bit larger?
No, not yet. No, because I haven't made life size except until my most recent one. And she just is life size, so she'll be a little bit smaller when she's fired. But I haven't ever tried to make one that would end up being life size. It's not a priority for me, but if I was, I would do it bigger. Yeah.
So the children on these animals, like, give us kind of your thought behind it. I love the idea. I'd love to hear the story. Like, what's your, because they look like they're dreaming. They're kind of in, like, you know, they're blissful in some way or another, that they're sleeping in some cases. What give us your inspiration for this.
So the feeling that I have about them is that they've been on an adventure. It's like a children's story kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the one girl has her arm in a sling, so she's a little beat up. And they have stuff like the guy's got a ukulele on his back, and there's just sort of a vibe of they've been traveling, but and then these animals are in my mind, they're bringing them home after the adventure. And they've sort of succeeded in whatever they were trying to do, but they're not back to home in reality yet. And so they're traveling home, and it's like nighttime, and they're looking up at the stars or the northern lights or something on their way home. It's sort of the feeling that I have about them, but there's not a specific story or anything that they're from.
The interpretation. I love it. I think all of them just look so, and the animals are sculpted beautifully, the textures. Anyway, it's just tremendous. Do you ever, and this is maybe a dumb question, because I saw the finished piece. Do you ever want to paint them, or do you ever want to do any type of? Okay.
Yeah, I'm really just putting that off. I haven't finished anything yet, so I can't really speak to that. I want to. I have intention to finish them. I don't like their chalky white when they've been fired, and they need to be something different than that. Okay. So I've been doing some research, watching videos about how artists use, graphite powder and waxes and paints and things, and I have good intentions.
Okay. Well, there's time, thankfully, so you're good.
Right, they're not going anywhere. They're
as
not.
As long as I stay alive, we're good.
Plenty of time.
Oh, I love this. Yeah.
So good.
Closer up. Yeah.
Yeah. So I sculpted them not on the rhinoceros, and then they're just on a block of clay there, and then I moved them over.
And then, so I know it probably doesn't take you an exorbitant amount of time when it comes to a piece of jewelry, but what time do you put into something like these two figures?
I don't know.
Because you come and go from it, I imagine, right?
Yeah, I never do it all at once. Those might be like 10 hours of work.
That's the thing some people don't understand when it comes to buying artwork like that, especially a one-off piece, is the hours that you've invested into it.
Oh yeah, like my large sculptures.
Price tag on that.
Crazy number of hours.
I can only imagine. What's a day in the life like? I mean, we're going to start talking about some of your larger life ones, but what's a day in the life for you when it comes to coffee in the morning and you're just out in the workshop, you're doing your thing until the middle of the night, or you have a family and your other things on the agenda, but what's the number of hours you spend in the workshop?
Not much. Not much. No, I'm not at all full time at this. I'll try and sum up. So during COVID, I got really depressed and I stopped working, and then was unable to get in my studio, and it was a sort of a spiral of feeling worse and worse because I couldn't get to work.
Yeah.
And like a year in, I just was like, something's got to change, and I committed to doing 10 minutes a day in my studio, no matter what, every day. Okay. And it could be just sweeping the floor or, washing some things, but I had to be in my studio for 10 minutes a day. And that led me to, once you're in the studio, you can go.
Get the juices going.
Yeah, some days I would just sweep the floor for 10 minutes, but that got me moving again. And that's when I started sculpting. And So some days it would be hours and hours, but usually it's not more than probably 2 hours.
Okay.
Some days it'll be more, but usually it's between half an hour and 2 hours a day. And
Okay.
when I'm in a cycle of producing something for, if I have an order or whatever, I can do long hours. But when I'm for my sculpture, I don't ever do huge amounts. It's mentally exhausting, and
Yeah.
I just do it in little bits. And then I'm still beating myself up about it badly, like, well, I gotta do more, and that's a struggle. So
It's also tough to force the creative process.
Yeah.
Right. You have to be in the certain mind frame. I mean, everybody can push through if you have a deadline or something like that. But if you're doing it just because you have a goal in sight, you can always move the goalposts too, right? Like you'll finish it when you finish it. If there is no time frame, I mean, but that's also where that little voice comes in and says, get in there for at least 10 minutes, start baby steps. It's like going back to the gym. You start slow.
Yeah, it's been great. I mean, it's worked, but I need to I need a new challenge. I don't know. I've been thinking about setting a new challenge for myself of, hours rather than minutes.
I think pumpkin carving is a better challenge. Instead of thinking about hours and minutes, I think you should just sit down with a pumpkin and
I do not need to be distracted by more creative endeavors. I could
You have
sink
enough
into
on
that
your
world.
plate. You have enough on your plate. We have a question for you. Here we go. By Brittany, do you put glaze or finish on the large sculptures, or do they stay bisque? And right now, I think we kind of answered that question a little bit, right? About the potential.
Yeah. I have intentions. I will finish them. I have visuals in my mind about how I want them to be, but I don't want to say what that is because I may not achieve it. Currently, they're just bisqued. I don't have anything with a finish on it. So, but I have some bisque things.
There is something to be said because Paul and I work in a one color world when it comes to pumpkins. So lighting and shadows and creating depth, using wrinkles and stuff like that, and the form is kind of all we have too. So I think there's something so beautiful to seeing a single color to me. Again,
yes,
when you fire it, like you said, it's whiter and it's chalkier, and you kind of probably lose, it gets a little bit more dull. But I love again, I spend way too much time going through all your stuff on Instagram, for instance. But looking at this, and I can see almost a shine of the skin and the
that's what I want to achieve. I'm definitely not going to paint them like people. They're going to stay one color, but mostly one color with some highlighting.
Beautiful.
But they become very dull. And when this was taken when it was still wet, so it does have that beautiful skin sheen. And I just have to. I know there's ways to do that with waxes and things, and I will learn. I'm young at this.
Yeah. So in terms of glazes, this is probably going to be the stupidest question, so don't type in an LOL at me or whatever. But there isn't like a high gloss glaze, semi-gloss, and an eggshell glaze.
There are those things, but they are called gloss and matte and satin, and
same thing.
Yes, that is a thing in glazes. I will not glaze these. I'm not even a little bit interested in that risk. There's too much unknown in glazes. I'm going to put a cold finish on them. I'm not. Some people glaze their sculptures, and good on you. But the number of hours I put on this and the chancing of it looking terrible with a glaze I'm not interested. And there's no reason you don't need to glaze. It doesn't need to be food safe or anything. So
and the point you made about
thanks, Brittany.
Oh, there we go. That's nice. Yeah, I tend to agree. And then we had this question also, and I think we got the answer. But when it comes to you, kind of from an inspiration of because I see we're staring at this one here for a few minutes, but and we've got certainly more to cover. But when it comes to your subject matter and how you pick what you pick, there's a number of really cool ones. People just idly staring at their phones and stuff like that. Was that born out of COVID and that whole nonsense of just being alone and being or was it before that, or maybe?
Born
No,
out
that was
Steve Jobs.
yeah. Stupid iPhones. It was born out of my middle kid was looking at his phone. He's very bendy, like he's extremely flexible. And so the first one I did was of him sitting on the floor looking at his phone because he looked so great. I was like, oh, I want to get that slump. Like I have to capture that slump.
Yeah.
And so I did that just to see if I could sculpt. I was like, we'll sculpt this. And it turned out I was like, hey, looks like I can sculpt. So I stuck with that. I like the theme a lot. It's my commentary on
Oh,
so
the whole
can I tell
generation.
you my commentary? The
Please.
reason behind them is
Please.
so I posted that one of my son, and I got just tons of adults saying, ain't that just the way? Kids today, always on their phones. And there was a lot of nice comments about like nice sculpt and all that, but there was just so much like gentle vitriol about kids today, and they were all adults on their phones typing this in. Like I'm like, this is all of us. Like we're all addicted to our phones, and it's not all bad. Like it's how we connect, it's how we share, it's how we learn, it's how we entertain ourselves, and it's so freaking addictive. And
Yeah.
so it's all of the things, and it's all the people. And I use teens because it's like it brings that up for people. Like it brings up that ability to be judgy, but without the like, hold up, but you're looking at this on your phone. I would bet so much money.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
You should be working right now, but you're staring at my stuff.
I know, and I stare at my stuff. I like that. I think that's fine, but like,
yeah. Well,
that's sort of like my commentary.
Yeah, I love it because I constantly, I've got 3 daughters, and I know you've got 3 sons, and I know that there's probably a lot of times where you're like, okay, put down the, but then I'm finding myself, my girls have said to me a number of times, like, Dad, I'm talking to you. I'm like, oh, yeah. And I have to do the same thing.
We do it too.
Guilty. Damn it.
It's real.
The struggle is real.
Struggle is real. And I think what Paul and I are just completely blown away, as are hundreds of thousands of other people who have watched your reels and videos and everything on Instagram and other places. When it comes to your final piece, your finished sculpture, you hollow it out. So in order to do that, you have to cut it apart. So it's just crazy. I'm sure it defies logic, and everyone's like, that beautiful piece, don't cut the arm off. No, oh, you did. And then you have to reassemble. And I think I heard you say related to going and firing it again. You're like, not on my dead body am I going to chance this piece again in another kiln, and like well,
there is no real risk in the second firing. It only explodes in the first firing. The explosion, if it's going to happen, and they do not just break, they will explode. Would happen in the first firing, and the second one would just be if I put glaze on it, the glaze might come out stupid, and then there's nothing you can do about it. So that's the reason I wouldn't bother doing a glaze fire. But yes, the reason you hollow them is so they do not blow up.
Okay, so
is there a certain thickness that you have to achieve?
Yeah, you can fire things that are pretty thick. You just have to fire really slowly, and they have to be like really dry. So you dry them for like months, and then you preheat the kiln for like a day. So you can make things that are thick. My rule of thumb is an inch, and that you can do in a reasonable kind of firing. You don't have to fire like over days and days and days. So I try and make the walls an inch. No thicker than an inch, and I try and make them a little thicker at the bottom for support and a little lighter at the top, just so that doesn't make the thing slump, and that's the goal.
So what do you do with things like legs and arms, right? Because that's obviously more than an
down
inch.
the middle, right? You have to cut them down.
You cut them; they're all hollow. Yeah.
Oh my God, sounds.
Yeah, you just like this one. I flipped upside down, so the bottom of her legs, they're are open.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just I just cut their heads off, or whatever.
Yeah.
And
it's hard to watch because it's just I look at these as so beautiful, and then to see you do that, but then it all ends up okay at the end, which is wonderful.
Yes, trust the process.
Trust the process. Here's a good
Until
question.
I sculpt with cone 6 stoneware called Standard 182. It's like white with some grog, and I don't fire to cone 6 though. As I was saying, I do a high bisque, like maybe cone 03, and leave it at that. But I like that stoneware. I spent all of my years doing pottery was with Standard 181, which is a very similar clay without grog. So I was like, well, this will play well. I just picked a similar clay to sculpt with.
Okay.
So it's just a stoneware.
So
Sorry, Paul. Go ahead.
no, just to go back. So you didn't know you could sculpt human anatomy until you watched your son on the floor with an iPhone, and then you banged out these sculptures. Is that real?
Well, I did do a sculpting class. I did a 1 week sculpting class with a man named Philippe Farreau, who's very
I know Philippe Farreau. Yeah, actually,
yeah.
I was signed up for his class in Vermont when
Right before
COVID
COVID.
hit.
Yeah.
So I could have been doing this. You're telling me I could have been doing this with 1 week class? Oh man,
Yeah, I'm sure.
All
Actually,
you
you're
need.
very talented. You probably would pick it up easily.
Nope, I took a
he's-
class at the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston a couple years ago, for anatomy, and the guy said I overthink everything, and I told him he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Ah,
And then you punched him. No, it's so I did take that class, and it was I loved it, and it was surprisingly easy. I did go to arts. I have a degree in ceramics,
yeah.
but I never did any sculpting in college. So I hadn't really done like a figure, a human form until I took that class with
That's
Philippe,
crazy.
and then I didn't sculpt again for a couple years. It just wasn't. I didn't have space for it in my life, but I loved it very much. And then so when COVID hit, I was like, oh, I should try it again. And yeah.
Well, you really went all in, because it's amazing. I mean, right down to stuff like drapery, which I know boggles like amazing world renowned artists. They have the toughest time with things like hair and like I said, drapery.
The clothes.
That's your bread and butter. It seems like that's where you really enjoy it.
Yeah, I like the slump of a body, and then the flow of clothing is my favorite.
And that's two different things that are both equally as difficult. So to just get the pose correctly anatomically is one challenge, right? To make it believable to the human eye, really, right? That it's in that pose, and then to clothe it with clay.
Yeah.
But then, again, you're tricking the human eye into believing that this is a real, like if you were to doctor the lighting in this, you would think it was a girl on the floor. If you put a light in the front of that iPhone hitting that face, you would take a double
I should
take
do
and
that.
think it
That'd
was
be cool.
an actual child.
I should try that.
But a little kind of glue on LED or something.
Yeah, I will do that. I like that idea. When I finally put a finish on it, and I'll be like, Paul Dever told me to do this.
Nice. I'll get credit. Holy moly.
I love it. Yeah, but the patterning on the pants and So imagine Paul, if she'd gone for 2 weeks to his class.
Forget it. Everybody would quit sculpting. They couldn't keep up.
Yeah, and how the hair lies, and how the fabric lies, and how the skin. It's just
wow. Philippe must be one hell of a teacher too. Then holy
right.
God.
Everybody who takes his class can do that.
Oh man, I missed out.
Yeah, so that's a picture of my son.
There we go.
Yeah, that's such a. It's. It's so true to life too. Like with this whole series with the phones and just kind of laying around.
Yeah, so it's interesting working with my models. I work from photos of models, so I'll hire somebody. They're all people that I know, but. And I'll be like trying to get them to do the pose. And it's hard to get people to be really, really, truly relaxed. Like people don't get into that pose without sitting that way for an hour. Like you tend to, it's really a challenge. And most times I have to go back and reshoot. Like I'll take the pictures and I'll come home and I'll be like, nope, they're too stiff. It's not right. And I go back and I'll be like, you gotta be slumpier. Like you just gotta lean into it harder. And then eventually we get the photos.
And you're right about the kids being uber flexible. I remember coming downstairs and my girls would be sitting on their legs on a hard wooden thing, like And I was like, oh my God, my knees would just pop out of my legs.
I know.
Just like,
It's good stuff.
and they're like, oh yeah, there's nothing bad, you know. They're so flexible, jealous.
Yeah.
I love it. And then we have this one, which is one of your newer ones or more recent. I think
Yes,
more
this
recent
one I'm
post.
currently working on. Yeah.
Now, if any of you, well, if you haven't followed Christina, you should be, and go directly to the video of her doing the hair. Oh my God, it's amazing.
And then don't watch the next video where the whole thing falls over.
No, but like any good movie, there has to be drama. It's like
drama.
watching a movie that's being created. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah, that's like
She's nearly back together. For anybody who has been following the saga,
okay. The saga.
She fell over and I had to scrap most of it, but I severed her head and I saved her head and I rebuilt all the arms and everything. And
did you talk to her doing while you? Did you tell her you're sorry as you're doing? You know, I didn't want to do this. It's not.
I didn't really personify my sculptures that much, but
I know I would. Oh
yeah.
God.
No, she's nearly there, but I had to like handle the head a lot to take it off and put it back on and all that. So a lot of the hair has been damaged, but that's the next step is to get back in there and fix it all. This one has been a saga.
This would be a dumb question because I think I know the answer, but so I'll just give you myself as perspective. When I start carving something and I get to a little spot, I get almost like this wash of like adrenaline or something comes over to me because I'm like, oh yes, it's like I can see it. It was like in my head and now I see it kind of coming to fruition. Do you, when you're doing like redoing the hair, especially on something where it's a head where you had it and then you had to redo it, do you get that same kind of flush of like, yeah, you finally got it?
No, not at all. Not even a little bit. Not yet.
Really?
I hate it. It's been very painful just because it's like, I already did this. Every time I'm like, I already made this arm. I already did this wrinkle. I am not enjoying it. And I am very committed to this piece. It means a lot to me. And I want to get it right. But I do not have the same energy as I did the first time. I have the same commitment. I have more commitment, but less of the excitement that I had the first time through.
Do you watch the clock every 5 minutes and wonder why only 5 minutes has passed when you do it?
No, I don't feel that way about it. I do feel just like, it's harder to get started on the day, but I'm getting there.
Beautiful. It's just absolutely stunning. And then the expression on the face and just the hoodie. I mean, just every part of it is just
great. Delightful. It does have a feel of Philippe Farreau. It really no,
I don't want that. Hush.
Right.
I'm not trying to have. He is amazing. I just don't want to. I don't want to copy his vibe. I'm trying to have my own.
Philippe is Philippe.
Yeah.
Now let me ask you a question because this is a weird one. The phone, was it pressed almost like a Play-Doh thing from a cast of an iPhone?
Or just cut out?
Not.
You sculpted that?
I just sculpted that.
Must be nice. Must be nice to just be able to do anything.
Maybe you should sculpt an iPhone out of a pumpkin.
Yeah.
Well, when they start growing them rectangular, you got it. I'm on it.
No, I believe in you. I think you could do it.
You could do it, Paul. Come on.
You could put like a hand, like make a hand and a phone just on the pumpkin.
Challenge
like
accepted.
Make it like a creepy, like gnarled hand.
Oh,
put that on your wheel. It could be like gnarly hand iPhone, and then you could give it emotion.
On this 4-hour episode of Carvers and Creators, we'll be making a hand from 48 pieces of pumpkin.
Have either of you ever carved a hand?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually did the extendo hand from American Werewolf in London.
Mm.
And I had to do it strategically just because there isn't enough depth to the way hand goes. So I cut out the palm and the first joint of the thumb, and then I just constructed each finger and each joint and shaved them into place and really worked.
Fabulous.
You got to hide the seams with like the putty from when you scrape.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was very fun. I'm assuming it's just as fun as how you feel about doing hair.
I actually like doing hair. I just didn't want to do it the second time. I think that hands and eyes are the two hardest things to sculpt.
Hands are so hard. Oh my God.
And the hands are just as expressive as any facial expression. If you can get the hand right, especially in like a creepy posture or something like that, a pose. I look at the hands on sculptures more than the face sometimes.
Yeah, hands are
But if you make a mistake on a hand or an eye, it's like your brain doesn't let you not see it. You know what
Yes,
I mean?
you got to
has
get it right.
Has to be right.
Or you put a mitten on it.
Here's here's you hollowing out the looks like the lake. So are you doing it in sections, or how do you?
Oh my
in other
God.
words, have you ever carved or made something and then forgotten? Oh, I never did the forearm or something like.
No, that's a good
Boom.
question. Yeah, that would blow up hard. I tend to. Thanks, Laura. I tend to keep real good track of
Okay.
everything that I've done, but I can't see whether or not I've done it, so I just have to remember.
Okay.
But there's not that many body parts, right?
No, yeah, you make it.
So
Yeah. Matt, I'm pretty sure you and I it would be like they thought it was a natural gas explosion in our house. The house would be going. Oh, there's two legs. Oh,
yeah, it wasn't my fault. It was yeah. But so this thing is so big, and like some of your other larger life size pieces. So what size kiln do you use? Do you have to build one around it, or how does that work?
I do not have a kiln big enough for these pieces. I have a kiln that I can use in downtown Philadelphia. I haven't done it yet, but they have given me permission to rent a cart kiln. I am not even a little bit looking forward to transporting them downtown like that, because they're very, very breakable when they're dry.
Oh yeah, they're leather. Is that what you say? The leather by that point, or are they dried at that point?
They would be bone dry when I
would
take them down, because they have to dry for months. I leave them out for a long time, but I haven't done. I'm just putting it off really hard. The one that we first looked at of the girl in shorts and a tank top, has to go to that kiln, and I just haven't done it.
Too big. Speaking
there's the center part that fell.
Oh.
I mean, all right, so it didn't fall like that. I cut it off and threw it on the ground. That's why it looks like that.
But, that was the angry photo.
It wasn't angry so much as like despair. You want to sculpt that? Sculpt a pumpkin of what Christina looked like when she threw half her sculpture on the ground. That would be a pumpkin.
That's a sad one. There's so many beautiful ones though. So I'll fast forward because I certainly
this one is my favorite. That pose is so cool, and it reminds me of like the way my kids will sit. Like Matt, how you were saying, like when your hips used to be able to just kind of sit like that.
Yeah, for hours. Yeah.
For hours. Yeah. I can do that for hours, but it takes me an hour to get out of that.
It took me a long time to get him to sit like this. Like he's super capable, but like just slouch more. He's like this. But he did a great job in the end. He was willing to sit for me twice to get that pose.
It's a good one. So good.
I hate to say it, Paul, but we are like 2 minutes away from the show ending, and I had to show this picture.
What sculpture is that?
I feel like I had to blend in with your vibe. So many of your artists that you have on are kind of horror sculptors in the most amazing way, and I was like, this is as close as I get with some theater makeup.
That's fantastic. See that? You just lots of feathers in your cap. That's for sure.
Maybe I'll sculpt that one day.
There you go. Yeah, you'll be popular around Halloween. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Let's do the challenge there. We'll do a wheel challenge, and we'll put picture of Christina on the wheel.
That's right. Well, although we do only have a couple minutes left, I wanted to just really quick look at Paul's because I know.
Oh boy. Yeah, I'm blocking, buddy, and the light's not doing it justice. It actually feels like it's coming along better than it is, and not so good now. So the blocking stage obviously is the worst one, but I got some ways to go. I'm going to go in that direction of he's not going to be. It's more going to be more like a shrunken head, or like I'm going to do lots of stitches and.
There we go.
But he has to be robust, so I have to be careful and slow if what I'm removing, because if I go too fast, then he's going to be anorexic, which is not robust.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, so slow and steady wins the race.
Same here. I mean, mine, I guess I can't really say much about mine. Mine's kind of in the same position as yours, Paul. I mean, like I'll see if I can zoom in. Mine has a long way to go. Really just blocking up. I'm trying to think of fat. Robust. I'm trying to think of somebody where he's got kind of a mushed face in the middle, but then I want to give him kind of the voodoo vibe. Maybe one of those voodoo priests with the. Anyway.
Oh, nice. That would be cool.
We shall see. Good,
because I thought you were going to say that you were also doing a shrunken head type of thing, and I was going to be, oh, fantastic! Time to switch gears.
No, but I mean, they almost look a little bit like they're on the same but this beautiful.
It's a
beautiful-
round surface.
It
it's
is.
literally-
And the beginning of these things never look like the end of them. I promise. So.
No. Listen. I'm gonna now that I have pumpkins, I'll time lapse everything. So hopefully that'll make a difference when it comes to the finished product. Well, we have come to the end of another show. And Christina, this is where you can be found. Is there any place else people can go to see your amazing work?
My basement. No.
Well, if
Not
you want to
yet.
give your address, that's on you.
I do not come to my basement, anyone. No, not yet. I'm mostly on Instagram. That's my main place. So follow me.
Yeah, again, it's a great account. I enjoy watching it thoroughly, and I look forward to seeing more. Hopefully, the show has inspired you to do 25 minutes to 10 hours a day in your shop,
And
somewhere in the middle.
I'm gonna lay the pumpkin on my wheel.
There you go. We want video of that. That's going to be amazing. I really do want to see that.
Well,
and this is where you can find us. We are on all the little silly buttons on the bottom there.
we got to update the first one though, huh? It's not called Twitter anymore. It's called some X.
You're right.
Right.
We all know what it means. We don't need an X. We know it's Twitter.
Yeah, it's still a bird in my opinion, but whatever. But yeah. All those places, but we have a catalog, a library, would you say, maybe of shows, but we can't thank you enough, Christina, for joining us tonight. This has been a treat because we've been admiring your stuff for so long, and this was just an absolute blast to hang out.
Can I give one little plug? You know Jordu Shell, who you all know.
Oh, yes, the great Jordu. We love Jordu.
He's going to be a co-presenter with me at ClayCon West.
Whoa.
I know you guys know him, and so he just signed on, and we're going to be presenting together on stage for a couple days. And I've never met him, but we're going to be right next to each other, and I get to learn a ton from him. And
you are going to love Jordu. He is first of all, he's an amazing artist, but he is a very, very funny guy. He's fun to hang out. He's a great guy to hang out with.
Nice. I'm very looking forward to it. It's in Utah in January, and everybody should come.
Wow. Yeah. Bring your snowboard.
Yeah, bring your snowboard and maybe a warm hat. That'd be good.
Yes, it might be. Yes,
God, that's so cool.
It's southern Utah. It's not that cold.
Oh, so it's like Florida. You're right.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. That's great. I can't believe you hung on to that for so long. That's big news. That's where people can find you too. I mean, they can come see you if they're in southern Utah.
That's true. And I'm doing one in South Carolina as well. Jordu will not be at that one, but I'm presenting at a conference in South Carolina in February. So that's another. I did forget about those things.
Our buddy Pat Kavanaugh says Jordan, and then he makes sure he made it really Jordu. But
see, that's an iPhone. That's an iPhone right there. My sentences make zero sense when I look at them after I think I've typed them correctly.
Yeah.
Well, I can't thank you enough. We'd love to have you back somewhere down the road. Maybe, like I said, we'll do clay. Maybe you do pumpkin. We can figure something out.
Fun. Well, thanks for having me. It's an honor.
Thank you.
The honor is all ours. Well, for myself, Matt, we thank you for tuning in, and we're going to see you next Thursday with another Carvers and Creators. So good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.